Hey guys, it's your friend John here. Today, we're going to be doing something a little bit interesting. I went online, and I went on eBay, and I got me a reaping hook hatchet. It's basically a blade like this, and it comes with a handle, and you put the handle on like this, and this actually looks like a pretty cool weapon to use, and I'm going to see if I can make a better version of this. I'm still going to use this head, but I'm going to see if I can make a better handle for this head. So the first thing you need is obviously the reaping hook hatchet. The second thing you need is a long pole handle or broom handle. The third, a throwing knife. I'm thinking about putting the throwing knife here like that, as you can see on the wood, so it can also be used as a stabber. And on the end, on this end here, where my hand would be, I'm thinking about adding a little counterweight right here, as you can see. So, as I swing here, I can go on my other side too. So I can swing here, and that counterweight will kind of help, and I can use that as a weapon. Check out these fancy tricks. But you think I couldn't do something like this, huh? Never mind. So what you're going to want to do is, you're going to want to take your pole, and if your pole has any bad ends like this, just cut it off so it's nice like this. And I'm going to sand this down so it's a little more smooth. So you're going to take the other side of the pole, and you're going to try to put this on, but as you can see, this blade doesn't fit on here. So what you can do is you can take the belt sander, and you can sand all this down all the way around and make the pole skinnier so it's easier to fit on. So now I'm going to sand the other side and make it skinnier so the blade can easier fit on that wood. I marked right here in pencil where I need to stop the sanding at. Make sure you always mark it so you don't go too far down or you leave too much space. Do it right where the proper measurements are for any blade. Alright, so as you can see here, I am done sanding. I did have to make one side flat, and I did have to add a little groove in there for the blade. As you can see, the blade is a little flat on one side, and it really needed to really get it in there, as you can see. And this little flat side with this little groove cut out really helped make it more secure and in there. To get that little groove in there, I had to use two different types of hand files, a round one and a flat one, to really help shape it. So next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut down the center so I can put this blade right in. So when I have the axe head in, it'll be like that, and then you'll have the blade in like that. It'll kind of look something similar to that. Alright, now we're going to cut right down the middle with the handsaw. Alright, so we got a nice slit in here that's wide enough to fit this knife. Just like that, it's in there pretty well. So if you are going to cut it, make sure you use a vise. Don't just hold it with your hand. A vise really secures it in there. So now you can see the knife is in there, and you put this on top. You can kind of get an idea on how it would look. Pretty interesting looking weapon. So after that, I got it in my sink, and I'm going to clean it up because as you can see, it's pretty dirty and pretty shot up. So I'm going to wet sand it with some sandpaper, and hopefully that will get most of these little, you can see the white mark right there. I'm going to try to get that out. There's a number 1 right here, just upside down, but there's some marks on it, and I'm going to do my very best to get those marks out by wet sanding it. When you're done cleaning it with the sandpaper, dry it off. As you can see, I got that one off, and I also got that white mark off too, so it's pretty clean looking. All I gotta do is let it dry, and then I'm gonna add the clear coat. Instead of using this ball weight to put here to use as a counterweight and also another point of impact or another weapon head, I decided to use something else. I decided this pipe right here that I found might be a better fit. It doesn't fit yet, I can just sand that down, but it had more range to it, there's more surface area for whacking, and it has a little more weight, which makes it a little more balanced. I actually weighed these two, and these two in weight are very, very similar, so it will make the weapon more center balanced when being used. So I'll have this head, and I'll also have this head when I'm swinging it. So I put a pencil mark right here to let me know where I should end the sanding. As you can see, it matches up nicely right here, so I'm just going to sand this down and make this part skinnier so it fits into that hole. So as you can see, it's been sanded down and it's a lot skinnier. It will now fit this. As you can see, it goes on quite nicely, and I'm going to put a nail on it later to hold it in place. But now, I'm going to darken the wood so it has a nice color to it. I'm going to take a blowtorch to it and make it nice and dark. So to darken the wood, you can either use Stainer or I'm going to use a blowtorch to darken it. It's nice and dark. Now I'm going to wet sand it in the sink to kind of spread all that darkness around so it's nice and even. So take some wet sandpaper and just stick it right in and just start wet sanding. Once you're done wet sanding, take a rag and just push down and dry it up just a little. You're pushing the coloring into the wood so it soaks in. And when you're done drying it off, just let it dry and then you'll add the clear coat. Now that it's nice and dry, we're going to add the clear coat to it. You take some clear coat and you just add it right on. Make sure that when you do add your clear coat, you have it nice and secured in a vise with some wood blocks and a wrap towel around it so you don't damage the wood, and make sure it's nice and tight so it doesn't go anywhere. So once your clear coat is all dry, what you're going to want to do is on the end where you're going to put that hatchet end and the knife, you're going to want to drill 3 holes to hold that knife in place. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to line it up right here. I did this already. And you take a drill bit that closely matches. And you can kind of see, you just drill right in there, right down. So you have your 3 holes that match up perfectly with this. So when you put nails or screw in, the knife will be in there very strong. Another thing, you can also make these holes bigger if they're too small. I did it right here. As you can see, these holes were actually a lot smaller, and I drilled and I made them bigger. I only did 3. 3 was necessary. I didn't need any more. So you can always make your holes bigger if your throwing knife has holes that are just too small to fit any nails or screws. It's not that big a deal. And to hold this knife in place, I'm going to use really long screws because when it's in, I want the screws to kind of poke out a little to be a secondary weapon. I actually took the screws and I actually sharpened one end. As you can see right here, there's a big difference. This end had been sharpened so you don't have these teeth. You have the teeth down here so it grabs the wood, but then you have the teeth that are removed here so it had better penetration when being used as a weapon. And I'm going to do this, but on this screw, and I'm going to use the belt sander, and I'm going to show you how. So before you sand it, make sure you mark where you want to end. As you can see, I put a black marker right here so I don't go too far down, and I sand down the proper amount. Another thing, this part can be very dangerous. So if you're going to do this, be very cautious. So as you can see, it's nice and smooth and sanded down, and it's a lot sharper. And you're wondering why I did this, why long nails and why I do it like that. Well, you take it, you put it in, and you got yourself 3 nice sharp ends right there, and the knife will be in here, and the hatchet head will be up here. So you have 3 weapons between the knife, the nails, and the hatchet hook thing. So you're probably wondering why I just didn't use nails. Wouldn't nails be a lot quicker to use? Well, yes, but they also wouldn't be held in as well. These teeth, once I screw it in, it's going to really be secured in there. So when I hit here, these screws won't get pushed out. A nail would get pushed out over time being used. So that's why I'm using the screws, because these teeth are really going to anchor it in. And you have right up here these nice sharp points that I just sharpened. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sand down this head and I'm going to paint it black. The sanding will help remove any dirt or grease or any smooth surfaces. So when I paint it, the paint really bonds to the metal surface. So I'm going to wet sand it with some sandpaper. Now that the parts have been painted and the paint is now dry, all what's left to do is to assemble it all together. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add this metal pipe on one end. And I got myself a rubber mallet and I'm going to hammer it in. Because there was such a large gap, I added a little bit of wood filler in this gap just so it would be a little more tight around the pipe. Now we're going to add a nail to the top of this pole, just so the pipe doesn't slide out when it's being used. Similar to what they do to hammers, how they add a nail in the end, just so the head doesn't fly off. We're going to do the exact same thing. You can see some of that wood filler is really squeezing out to make it nice and secure and tight. Now I'm going to add some glue into these cracks, just so it doesn't split open more. So if your wood ever splits like this with a really large gap, just take some wood glue and just squeeze it right in there, just so the crack doesn't become bigger. And kind of just force the glue down that crack with your finger, just so it's all the way down, so the crack doesn't get worse over time. And then when you're done getting the glue all forced in that crack, take a wet rag and just clean it off. There we go. It looks nice and it will stop it from expanding and getting worse. And it will still hold this pipe nice and securely, making it much stronger. All what's left to do is let it dry. So once your glue is all dry and this top part is done, flip it around and now we're going to do this end. We're going to put the hatchet head on. Right on there, and then we're going to get the knife and we're going to put the knife on. So once you get your knife in, turn the blade to the side and put the screws in. So once your screws are all lined up, all what's left to do is to screw them in with the screw gun. And you turn to the side, so you have your head here, and you get your nails over here. So once your blade is in, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to put a screw in each one of these holes. I had to drill an extra hole just so it's a little more secure, so it's not relying on just one screw to hold it on. It will be relying on 2 screws. So pour some glue into the holes. Kind of just push that glue in with your finger. Once the glue is done setting to the bottom of these holes, just put your screw in, just start screwing. There we go. Now we're just going to let the glue in these holes set and dry so it's more secure and holding those screws a lot tighter. So now I'm going to add leather wrapping to the wood handle so I have something to grip on. I'm going to use the dull side, not the shiny side, because the dull side has some texture to it which will help with the gripping on my hands. So you take it, you wrap around like that, and you wrap just like that, and you start going down. You just start spinning. Hold on. God damn it. Almost done. Alright, so I'm going to try this again, adding this handle for like the 1000th time. And to make sure it doesn't unravel, I added a screw right here, so now it can't come out. And you're probably wondering why I didn't do that at the beginning. Well, I'm going to tell you why. Shut up. That's why. Now let's begin. Now you just start spinning and spinning and spinning. Make sure it's nice and tight. So when you're done raveling it up, you take the scissors and you cut it at the length where you want it. And then you take this little part and you tuck it in. You tuck it in just like that, how it loops right underneath. And you just put a screw right in there to hold it in. So once you got it crossed over right here, you're going to take a drill and you're going to drill right in, and then you're going to put your screw in. There we go, the screw's nice and in, so now the grip won't come out because it's all screwed in. Now I'm going to put this leather grip on the other side so I have more places to grip onto with my hands. So we got our grip on. I got 3 grips, one here, and one here. That grip will really help me, give me some options so I can use these different handles for different ways of attacking and defending. And now I'm going to give it a good strength test on the log. I don't have Junkman Woody, he's still in pieces, he's basically dead, but that's okay. We got the log and we can still give it a really good strength test. So here we go. Alright, I gotta go back to the garage and fix that. Alright, I fixed it. The knife is in there nice and strong. I added some 24-hour dry Gorilla Glue into the cracks. I also added a metal band here that wraps around, and a metal band here also that wraps around, giving it more strength and support. I also raised the head up a little bit so it will also wrap around the bottom as well. All what's left to do is to give it a nice strength test just to be sure that this knife never comes out. Alright, I'm now going to give this weapon a good strength test and see how strong it is. So yeah, as you can see, it broke. Well, this part broke. This part is very loose. This end held really nicely. It's not coming out. This is the only part that really failed, just this bottom part, or this top part. So, I'm not too happy. It was a lot of work to fix this and make this part, and the fact that it broke, I was really angry. A screw got a little loose, as you can see. I can easily fix it, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to see if I can make this weapon better, and I'm going to see if I can fix it more. Alright, so I gave it a new head. When the old head came off, I was really upset and really angry, but you want to know, I was able to fix it. As you can see, I gave it a new head. It had a little spike on it here and a nail sticking out, and it's really wedged in there. It's not coming out. I basically used a throwing knife like this that I got on eBay. And what I did was I took off the orange cord and I sanded this down a little and I put it right on top. And I took a hammer and I started hammering it in little by little all around so it would get wedged in. And then I took a nail and I hammered the nail in to expand the wood a little bit so it's really wedged in there. And you have this extra spike as an extra poker on top of a skull cracker right here. So what I did was after I hammered this nail in, I didn't hammer it all the way. I left a good maybe 3 inches sticking out, maybe 4 inches. And I cut the top off and then I grinded it down into a nice point so it can be used as a nice jabber as a secondary weapon on top of this part right here. And the reason why I went with a completely new head design was because the wood was just too destroyed, too compromised. There was no way I could have saved that wood. It had to be cut down and it had to be redone and redesigned. But I still have the old pieces to the old head. Maybe I'll go and revisit it and try to make another weapon similar to that. Hopefully it won't break. But you'll see me make something with the leftover parts again in the future. Maybe it was a good thing that the old head broke off. It breaking off that easily kind of shows that it was weak and not reliable. This new head that I have is a lot stronger and a lot more reliable. I know it's not going to break off as time goes by as being used. This long nail is pretty deep in here, so it's not coming out. And this head part is not turning. I'm turning it and it can't move. I'm twisting it. So in the long run, this is a reliable weapon. You have a reliable head right here and a reliable head right here, making it a very good survival apocalyptic weapon. So right here, right there, and a jab. This is a pretty decent weapon. And just to be safe and make sure that this top part doesn't come off, I gave it a good strength test, as you can see in the video. So this is really in there and pretty reliable. So even though it's not what I expected, it's still a pretty deadly weapon. I mean, you have this big club part right here. Pretty devastating. It's very similar to my World War I trench club. If you saw that video, you saw how much damage a weapon like this can really do. On top of that, you have another head here, something that's very similar to a skull cracker. You can whack them here, right here, and then you can take it and whack them right there and jab them. Or you can switch it and you can whack them right there, poke them, and then give them a good uppercut with this end right here. So it's still a pretty lethal weapon. I still made a pretty good comeback from a really large failure. And honestly, not a lot of people can say they succeeded from such a mega failure. So that's the end of the video. If you're new to the channel, please make sure you subscribe and check out my other videos. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Also, if you want to help this video get more viewers and help me get more subscribers, please share this video on Facebook or Reddit or any other social media community. And also, please make sure you follow me on Instagram and Reddit. Check out my community on Reddit. And thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video.